God calls a man named Abraham to become the father of a nation. This promise is passed down to his son Isaac and then Isaac's son Jacob. Jacob is later renamed Israel by God. Israel has 12 sons who all end up moving to Egypt to survive a terrible famine, where they start multiplying and have children of their own. Eventually, they become so large, the Pharaoh of Egypt enslaves them because he does not want them to become more powerful than the Egyptians themselves. Moses is called by God to bring the nation out of Egypt and into the Promised Land. God dictates the law to Moses so the people of Israel would know exactly how God expected them to live. Once in the Promised Land, God raises up judges to oversee the people. But after a while, the people want kings instead of judges. The first king is Saul, who is replaced by King David, who is a conqueror and makes Israel into a great national power. The next king is David's son, Solomon, and the fame of Israel continues to spread. But once Solomon is gone, it doesn't take long for the loose collection of tribes to begin fighting with one another. They divide between the northern kingdom, Israel, and the southern kingdom, Judah. These reign as two separate kingdoms with separate kings. The kingdoms choose to disobey God, and they pay the consequences. The northern kingdom is wiped out by Assyria and pretty much disappears off the face of the planet. God continues to work with Judah, the southern kingdom, but they also disobey. So in 597 BC, God sends King Nebuchadnezzar from Babylon, who swoops down into Jerusalem and carries off a group of exiles, including people who you would recognize like Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. 11 years later, the Babylonians return to Jerusalem and they pillage and burn the city and the temple. They also take another 60 to 80,000 more people into exile. Some 47 years later, Cyrus the Great invades Babylon, turning it into a Persian colony. He gives the Jews permission to go back to their homeland, and so some head back to start rebuilding their life. The people return to Jerusalem in three main waves. The first wave, a new, smaller temple is built. The second wave, the prophet Ezra brings this group back. And then there's a third wave, brought by a man named Nehemiah. The people celebrate the rebuilding of the temple as a time of spiritual renewal. It's a time of great expectation as they assume that this new temple and new spiritual revival would herald in the coming of the promised Messiah. But the Messiah never comes. And just a few decades later, the people start to lose their spiritual fervor. They start to get spiritually discouraged. They feel like God doesn't love them anymore, and because of that, their faith starts to become empty and meaningless, and their actions start becoming corrupt because they feel like it just doesn't matter anymore. So God sends his prophet Malachi to tell the people to get back to their faith, to leave their empty religion behind and prepare for the coming Messiah.